Hey there folks, my name is Malcolm Bertrand and we're going to explore another point of view for examining people's personality today. I've already talked about positive versus negative people and blacklisters versus whitelisters. Today it's going to be knowledge-oriented people versus experience-oriented people. I really think that there are some people who, to them, they don't believe anything till they've experienced it. And these are the people who actively explore their environment, people who are in a certain way restless, but they're always seeking, they're always looking. And these are the people for whom experiencing things is the most important thing. These are the people, I figure, who were even as babies, they were the ones who actively explored their environment all the time, and were probably a bit of a handful to look after, but they were very, very engaged. And the other kind of person would have been the kind of baby that just sort of lies there and, for lack of a better way of thinking about it, thinks about it. They contemplate, and they only act for a specific reason. They see something and want to know what it is, or often want to know how it tastes. But I think this is one of those fundamental divides between people when you're talking about personality types. The experience-based person will not pause and reflect, and they don't spend a lot of time trying to deduce the reality of things. The only time they pause and think is when they have no other choice. Something has thwarted them, and they have to stop and think of a solution. But their overwhelming desire is to just get on with it. Continue exploring and experiencing and being stimulated. Whereas the other kind of person, and maybe even this might even map to extrovert versus introvert, they sit and think and act only when a drive, like, say, hunger or a specific kind of curiosity takes them, and for the most part, they live life in periods of rest punctuated by action only when necessary. It's the same dynamic, but the priority is different. The majority of action is different, whether it's thinking or doing. And as these kids grow up, this becomes more and more obvious. You know, you've got the kid that he might have behavior problems in school, but he or she they're very energetic. They're very tactile and very they might not be the most patient student, but they can be very bright. But, you know, a little unfocused. And then you've got the other kids who are often pretty good at the academic stuff, and they aren't behavior problems usually, but on the other hand, they amass knowledge at the expense of amassing experience. And so as this tendency progresses through life, you end up with the people who know a great deal about the world, but have not actually experienced that much of it, especially not compared with the other type. And this becomes a very deep-seated preference. If you're an introverted person, you seek low stimulus levels. And so actual experience generally comes with very high stimulus levels. And so you end up being the bookish person who would rather, sit there and read, which to your mind is active because you're learning, but to the other sort of mind is passive because you're not doing anything from their point of view. And so you end up with a person who prefers mental experiences, nice, safe, containable mental experiences, to messy, complicated, dangerous, frightening, real-world experiences, sensory experiences. And I think that this is a way of looking at things that explains a lot of why you end up with intellectuals having these certain traits in common that don't necessarily seem obviously linked. You end up with people who are all kind of bookish and they don't like, the rough and tumble of the world, and they'd rather deal with things intellectually than emotionally or sensorily. And as with the other polarities, no one is all one and all the other, and the world probably needs both of them. Certainly, us thoughtful, stationary types would be lost without the more energetic types that want to go out there and grapple with the world and, leave us to do the thinking part. But I do think that both sides can learn from the other as well. There is real value in going out there and experiencing the world. Only through experiencing the world can you learn about yourself, what your limits are, what your preferences are, what your real personality, your actual self is. You can't learn that from a book. You can't learn that via academic means. You have to actually go out there and do stuff. So ironically, even though us quiet types are more introspective and reflective, it could be said that we actually know less about ourselves than the non-reflective, active go-getters of the world. The ones who never stop and think about themselves, but nevertheless end up learning a lot about themselves simply via experience. It's a matter of having a lot of experience to go on, a lot of data points, shall we say, or having very few data points but extrapolating the most you can out of them. I would think that it would be kind of obvious that a rich data set is always preferable. So, to all us bookish, shy, introspective types, think about experience. Think about whether you'd rather learn about something from a book or learn about something from actually going there. And think about what it means to be, in a sense, afraid of experiencing the world and preferring a way to get the same thing without having to experience it. What that does to you, what that does to what you know about yourself, what that does to your sense of connection to the world. You can't live an entirely abstract life. You physically exist in the real world. And if you retreat too far into your mind, the real world starts to feel very far away. And that's just not healthy. Well, that's all I've got to say for today, folks. Talk to you later.